And we are live. So, Bluford wine estate from Napa Valley. Such a great pleasure to have you here, guys, being live with me. Jeff and John from Bluford Wines. Hi,
Hi,
guys.
everybody. Yeah.
So, yes, well, as we were talking before, I already met John when I visited in Napa Valley in 2018, when he was working for another winery. And such a great pleasure to meet you again here, even if it's virtual, but yeah, still very exciting. And Jeff, actually don't know anything about you, but John already mentioned something about the history of your family that has a really deep roots in the Napa Valley. So could you, tell us a
Great.
little bit more about your family and how is your family linked to the Napa Valley wine
Sure.
region? Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Nice to be here. And so, yeah, we'll start with the Bluford Stice. It's my great grandfather. So Bluford is his first
Wow.
name. And he led our family by wagon train to Napa Valley in 1857. When they left Missouri, there was 100 in their wagon train, or 99. And when they got to Napa Valley, there was 100. They had births along the way. And
Wow.
they settled down in Napa area, northern Napa County, St. Helena, Rutherford. He
Okay.
ended up going gold mining after he settled down here for a couple years. There was a gold strike in Oregon, and he
So
decided.
they settled where today is actually Rutherford and St. Helena, because in the
Correct.
past there was not this kind of sub areas
Correct.
and sub areas system. So please
Correct.
continue.
And yeah. So and then the family was here, and he decided he was a true pioneer. He'd been across the plains multiple times in his day. Gold strike in Oregon. So he left and headed to Oregon, left the family here, staked his own gold mining claim, and ultimately died there in a mining accident on his gold mine. But that left behind generations of our family in the wine industry, him settling us here many years ago. His son, Lafayette Stice, which is my great grandfather, was I believe the first winemaker at Inglenook in Rutherford. He ended up in 1900, took his portfolio of wines to France and won first place in everything that he had entered in 1900. And many legacies Lafayette left us. He was a winemaker on Howell Mountain in the 1890s at Brun & Shack's winery. And his son, which is my great grandfather, was Henry Stice. Henry Stice, and Henry was the first winemaker at BV, and in 1909, I believe is the date. BV in Rutherford, Boyo Vineyards.
Interesting.
And so every generation in my family has been in the wine industry in Napa Valley. Before Bluford had left, I believe he did a little bit of farming, not necessarily any winemaking, but then Lafayette. And then my grandfather was in the farming business as well. He had a feed store in St. Helena, and he would serve the farming community and whatnot. And then my mother, she was at Sutter Home Winery for over 30 years, working for the Trinchero family.
Great. The Trinchero family. Okay.
Yeah, and Sutter Home's a unique story as well, because in the before it was Sutter Home, it was another facet of my family on my mother's side. It was John Toman was my great grandfather on the other facet, and
Amazing.
he built John Toman Winery and Distillery, and that is now Sutter Home Winery. So
Great.
he built the original, building that Sutter Home operates out of.
Amazing.
And he was one of the first brandy makers in the state of California. And back in the 1870s, I can't off the top of my head, he was making hundreds of thousands of gallons of wine. and
Really?
primarily going to California, Nevada, and New York.
All
Quite
right.
an amazing man he was, what I've read and some of the history we have on him. And, you know, we're working on a website now, and once that gets up and running, it's going to have a lot of these details on it.
Yeah. Because as John was saying, it's everything now is still in progress. You know, so you are building a website. So you are still doing a lot of things to build also again your own brand. I mean,
yes, yeah. So you know, the COVID has brought an interesting twist to us, right? I mean, we've always felt like, you know, we're this hidden gem, you know, and when you land here, you will experience that, and truly, you know, you find something most people don't see, right? Well, without travel and without all the things we're faced with right now, we're doing things like this, and it's pretty amazing, actually. And we're finally entering into the 21st century, you know, maybe 21 years later or so, but
okay.
And
just
you know,
just a minute, because I want to translate just a few things for the Italian folks who are listening with us. So, ok ragazzi, quindi stiamo parlando di un'azienda, è la settima generazione della famiglia di Jeff, famiglia Parody, che in realtà affonda le radici in metà dell'Ottocento praticamente. Loro si stabiliscono a Napa Valley, nella zona che adesso è Rutherford e St. Helena. Poi per vari motivi, perché praticamente lui, il suo antenato lavorava come minatore nelle miniere d'oro, e quindi si spostò quando c'è stata poi il grande conquista all'oro nella California. E per l'appunto questo è stato un momento che lo ha allontanato dal fare vino, ma in realtà nelle sue generazioni ci sono sempre stati degli antenati che hanno fatto vino. Lui ne citava alcuni, lui cita in particolare il suo bisnonno che era stato, diciamo, uno dei primi enologi della Napa Valley. Yes, Jeff, I was just telling a little bit about the history of your family. And John, so
yes.
what you always make me laugh.
Oh, good. It's a good thing.
What brought you there, actually? Because you were working for another winery before when I met you, and what brings you there in this new project?
I want to say the word faith. You know, you just trust when life, you know, you just keep working hard, and you don't see anything at the horizon, but you just keep going, and you don't sometimes know what's really going to be your future. So it was very much I would say, a surprise for all of us. Jeff has a wonderful wife that I was very good friends with. Met Liz, his wife, when we were 18 years old. And every day all of us, just platonic relationship, we just hang out and enjoy each other's company. And you know, and then just kept on with my business in the wine business. And long story short, Jeff owns a tow company garage, and he's in the bottom of a car, and he pulls his head out. He's like, "Hey, let me tell you, I've got a couple irons in the fire here. What do you think of this?" And I'm like, well, let me see what we can do about this. And I pondered and thought about it, and it's been kind of a dream come true with anybody that does hard work and is not lazy and continually goes forward. But it was almost as if all of us, with Jeff and Liz and myself, we had met each other at one period of time in life. And then here we are, where we're never going to split apart from each other. It's very strong roots, family. I'm known as Uncle John, with the little two kids of Charlotte, Catherine, and Jeffrey. But I think, you know, I'm not the only one that just says, hey, just trust your intuitions and work hard, and good things will come. And here we are all together, is how I like to describe that.
This is it's amazing to hear that before the business comes the relationship, the friendship, and this is very important, you know, also for doing business together. I mean, it's really important, and especially for in the wine business, because there are, you know, a lot of sacrifice and challenges everything. Yeah, and in the wine, everything takes a lot of time. Even once you plant the vine, before it makes the fruit, it makes the grape, it takes years, and this is it's really important also to focus and to understand. So tell us a little bit more about your estate. So how big is that, and what kind of grapes you grow, guys?
Well, you want to hit
John,
that off,
you
Jeff?
want to lead that?
Okay,
yeah,
so
we could both.
go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead, John. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
lead,
what we
John,
have
and then
is I think in order in life, you need to have people that surround you of goodness, and so we do have a ranch that Jeff planted, with his father almost 30 plus years ago. It's a cutting of Joe Height's Martha's Vineyard. It's a low yielding grape, small berry, and gets major concentration behind it. So that's one of ours. It's on a 50-acre plot. Which is also nestled into one of the oldest ghost wineries that was in running conditions that Jeff was talking about in the 1800s, where they were taking 1,000 gallons and then putting it into San Francisco. So way back in the day in the pioneer stage. So there's a ghost winery also on the property. I don't know, Jeff, we're thinking hopefully maybe April 1st. We're cleaning up the property right now, but we feel we've got a special property that we want to really share with everybody. So that's one that it's like a 6+ acre ranch that we do have plans with, maybe planting a little more fruit. We joined with Mike Dunn Vineyards, and we also are using their fruit sources as well. Jeff has met a lot of wonderful friends, just with his ways of being humbled and kind. A lot of people have gravitated to him. A guy named Mike Quick. Right below Via der Vineyards, we have just a little nestled vineyard of 2 acres. So we're very small. These are our fruit sources, but we cherish the fruit that we do get, and that's where we're pouring our fruit from.
Yeah, you mentioned Dunn Vineyards, and is the winemaker related to that?
Yeah, he is the son of Randy Dunn.
Can you explain us who is and what is Dunn Vineyards? Because most part of the people who's following us, they don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, Jeff. Do you know? I could follow through with that, but
Yeah, so Dunn Vineyards, Randy Dunn is the father of Mike Dunn, and Mike Dunn is our winemaker. Randy Dunn came to Howell Mountain, I want to say in the late 70s, and kind of really opened the door to the world to Howell Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon. And ever since then, Dunn has been, one of the world-renowned producers of Cab in Napa Valley for Howell Mountain. And his son Mike is winemaker as well, right there, and he is our winemaker for Bluford for our Cabernet. And he is. Can't say enough good things about him. He's a fun guy, and he's just the best at what he does.
And that's important. Also, where precisely is located your estate? In which AVA, or if where the state is located in the Napa Valley? Because Napa Valley is a long wine region, and is also split into different AVAs. So if you could exactly let us know where precisely is.
So we're some would say it's the slopes of Howell Mountain. We're on the eastern side of Howell Mountain, the northeastern side. It's considered Napa Valley AVA. The zip code calls it Pope Valley.
Is it the vineyards are the vineyards flat, or are on a hill, on a slope?
They're hillside. Yeah, they're hillside, around 1,000 to 1,200 elevation between the different plots. And we don't necessarily we don't need frost protection there. We're very fortunate since we're in this little mountain canyon area. It's just enough where it flows right through, and we don't necessarily have to have frost control, which is a big plus.
Beautiful. And do you think the elevation and this particular climate there bring specific characters to your wines?
Yeah, they do. Basically what's happening is, Mount St. Helena is an active volcano way back in the day. She spewed all of the ashes and rock and lava magma, settled in and throughout all the years. And you can almost see it when you're coming in throughout the Napa Valley. If you're looking up on the other side of Spring Mountain, you'll see it's nice and green and vegetative. There's less rock formation. There's a little bit more of a soil composition. And then out here, there's soil composition, but there's a lot of rock. And then what happens is we get a lot of good sun and throughout the day, and it generates those rocks. And what happens is they have to work a lot harder, like any of these vineyards do up here. But those rocks are nice and warm, and they do grow while we're sleeping. And as far as I'm concerned, they're constantly happy with the Mediterranean. 3% of the world being Mediterranean, it just works out perfectly with the weather patterns. Cabernet Sauvignon. It's good stuff up here. We're fortunate to be here. There's something I think magical about Napa Valley. I was talking about it with one of my friends, and we really came up with the fact of these things that we're talking about right now is the farmers and the stories and what this land is doing to make these magical grapes that we're just transferring over into wine and taking care of it and being clean.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to point out is that the ranch where our fruit comes from is one of the oldest vineyard sites in this eastern part of Napa County. It was 1860s producing a vineyard. The winery that's on the site was 1868, and it's still standing. And that's where we're in the process of cleaning up and going to be presenting it for our guests at some point in the near future. So we're really excited about that. It's a beautiful setting.
Sounds amazing.
And it is one of the oldest in the county, and so that tells us something too. Today, we're not reinventing the wheel. Somebody found this precious spot 150 years ago.
Beautiful.
And we're still there doing, it was one of the first. So, it's interesting, right?
Sure.
Note on that as well.
Yeah, you must be very proud of it. You're bringing back history. It's amazing. Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. And another thing about your wine, because I told you about the climate of Howell Mountain, because honestly, for me, is a very particular wine region, and I tasted some of the wine of that region, and even if it's not a wine region considered a wine region premium as maybe most well known as Santa Elena or Oakville, like that. So because here in Italy everyone knows Oakville, everyone knows Santa Elena, but not that much people know Howell Mountain, that particular wine region. And to me, I tasted very, very nice Cabernet, and also your, of course, because what makes me very surprised in this wine is the freshness, because you don't expect, because everybody, when we think about a wine from Napa Valley, we usually think, okay, Napa Valley, it's a warm climate, so the wine should taste overripe, a little bit jammy, soft in tannins. Here, I got freshness, I got expression of the fruit, a very good, great quality of fruit. And just a question about the color and the quality of fruit, because I saw a color of the wine shows a bright color, ruby, but deep ruby, very bright. And do you do any particular vinification process in order to preserve the fresh and fruity character of the Cabernet Sauvignon? Do you do any attention in the harvest, or you pick the grapes earlier, or you do a cold vinification process? What do you do exactly in the vinification? I'm curious to know about that.
Do you want me to tap on that?
John.
So basically what it is it's there's as you probably know, Carlo, that there's so many styles, and we're in a 30-minute car drive from Calistoga to Napa, and it's like, what the hell? There's all these different styles of wines, and what do you want to do? Winemaker comes to you, what style of wine do you want to make? But then when you're dealing with old man Randy, Mike Dunn's father, and what he has learned, he's got 22 seasons underneath his belt. These guys, yeah, unfortunately, there's a style that's just it's a little too much for us. It wasn't the style we wanted. This herbaceous fruit bomb and low acid. So basically, it starts in the vineyard. You got to know the grapevines, and Mike has learned so well from Randy. He's got 22 seasons underneath his belt, and what it is preserving the natural acid in the grape and picking it a little bit earlier, and with all of the good sunshine that we get, the skins and the tannins, we're getting wonderful pigmentation color coming through there.
Yeah.
But it's just we're the type of wine that it's I don't know, say maybe it's a little more European side, because we want a wine where I'm with my partner over here 15 years ago. I want the wine to still taste good. And so we were making wine that it could be a little rough around the edge maybe in the beginning, but then the longevity of it, it's just phenomenal. It's a style that Jeff wanted. It's a style that we want, and we're not going to veer away from it. But it starts when you pick the fruit. It has to start with the foundation from there. And it's the style of Mike Dunn, Randy Dunn. And with 22 seasons of Mike, behind his belt, from what he learned from Randy, he's taken everything from Randy, but then he's elevated, because the way Randy, it was a joke, kind of a thing where it's like you drink one of Mike Dunn's wine or Randy Dunn's wine, it's going to strip the enamel off your teeth because they're just so potent. But then you let them age, and they're most beautiful wine you've ever drinking. We don't want to offend anybody, maybe the way people make their wine or whatnot, but we are very proud to make wine in this format, so.
I really appreciated the style of your Cabernet Sauvignon, especially because on the nose shows very beautiful notes of dark fruit, which is not overripe, but it's very fresh, so it's interesting, and spice. A great combination of sweet spices and the pepper, and more once you swirl the glass, it comes balsamic notes as well. And of course, what makes you think, wow, this is a great Cabernet, is the volume that you feel in the palate. Well, the front palate, it comes with a little bit of grippy tannins, a little bit at the beginning. But then they develop in the mid palate, and then comes really, really long, the finish. So it's beautiful. Yeah, very beautiful.
We couldn't be any more fortunate. And, and I couldn't agree with you about this style in Napa Valley, that they pick the fruit a little too ripe, and then we can add tartaric acid. So then you can balance it out on the other side to where they age, but then they're so forward with fruit. And it's like a teeter-totter. We want to be balanced on that. We don't want one more than the other. And
of course, I can tell this. Yeah, I can tell, and also I can say that it's a wine that you can enjoy right now. But I would say also, I would keep this wine for further aging. So it has the structure, has the body, also to develop, in time in the bottle. And of course, what would you like to pair this wine with? With what kind of food?
Jeff, we want to pair it with you, huh? What do you think? We're going to go to Italy and hang out with you. How's that sound? With good people, number one, and then we think about the food, huh? But I see you laughing again. What's going on?
It's a wine to share with people, not
share
with food.
People. I think that's most important. And then, I think we all cook a good, we're all good cooks in the kitchen, but I think wine is number one ingredient is good people, enjoy, and have more than one glass, let the evening roll. What would we pair it with? We do a lot of ribeye cookouts here. We like cooking big, nice, good pieces of meat, protein on that base. But when you got good, happy people together, I think it's why someone might want another glass of wine.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And just to think that we didn't say the aging process. How long has been aged this wine in oak?
Yeah, we're going almost to 3 years, and so it's very different.
Wow.
So it's very different from a normal program of maybe, people say 24 months, but sometimes they don't tell you, but it's 15, 18 months.
Depends. Yeah.
It depends, but we're putting in the barrel a lot longer, and it's definitely a process of Dunn, and there's a story behind that. It was with Jeff. Mike Dunn kept on calling Jeff and saying, "Hey, what kind of style, what wine? What do you want to do here?" And Jeff, on purpose, I'm just not going to answer. I'm going to ignore. And then he'd call back, ignore. And then finally, Mike's like, "You know what? You never answered us, so we're going to make our style." And then Jeff answers, "Hey, we didn't really want to tell you what to do, but that's what we want. So thank you very much." So our idea with the Dunns is we want to be humbled, we want to be kind, and we're so much in appreciation mode that we're with him, and we couldn't even be any happier. We don't want to tell them what to do. We're just happy.
Well, of course, but it's also important to share opinions about the tastings, and you take part also in the tasting samples and so on. So it's always interesting to share opinions also with a winemaker. It's not for bothering him, but it's just it's important also to share the impressions also together.
Yeah, we just knew that they had a masterpiece, and that's what we wanted, and we really just wanted them to come back at us and say, "This is what we want to do," and say, "Hey, we were always on the same page," But again, we couldn't be any more fortunate to be doing what we're doing in the style of wine that we're making right now.
Yeah. And tell me something about your white.
So
how is this made?
It's there's a story about everything, I guess. I've just influenced by you, Carlota, and other folks. I've got a friend
why as you are every time you start saying something, Jeff is laughing. Why?
Yeah, it could be nervous. He might be nervous. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but he's a happy man. I don't know, but basically it came
Go ahead.
I was doing a winemaker dinner at the City Club in downtown Los Angeles, and as we went along with it, we were thinking, you know what? When you do these winemaker dinners, my friend was telling me, he's like, "You're going to have a white wine," and we weren't even really. I mean, to be honest, we weren't even thinking about it. We love all different spectrums of every grape, And so I said, okay, well, let's get something going. And we knew how precious Napa Valley fruit was. There's a gentleman named Kerry Gott. I think he's got 50 years of being a winemaker in the Napa Valley right now. He doesn't like to be on a soapbox, so to speak. A lot of people don't really know who he is, but if you're in the industry, you probably have bumped elbows with this man, and he's helped out quite a lot of people. And then again, it was what style of wine you want to make. And again, it's first year they're making it, so there's always corrections to make, that we've done on the next vintage coming in. But it's a peasant style we look at. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a Chablis, stainless steel, neutral oak. We like food-friendly wines, high acid, and that's the style. And I think the best thing about it is where we came with the name. And I think Charlotte's 3 years old now. Charlotte Catherine, that's Jeff's baby girl, and that's who we named the bottle after.
So cute.
And it's kind of a neat little thing. So we want to have a rhythm with the family. The kids are constantly, poking their head around and seeing what's going on, and very interested in seeing what their dad's doing, Jeff, around the Ghost Winery, or he might be wrenching on a car. But there's much love with the kids and the family. The mother and the father, Jeff and Liz, are constantly going on vacations and bringing everybody in as a unit. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Great.
So
someone is saying Bluford is amazing. Ruth Welk saying Bluford is amazing.
Thank you.
Probably has already tasted your wines, guys.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So that's Charlotte Catherine. We just wanted to make a kind of a simple style Chardonnay, and we're glad we did, because it balances out the portfolio a little bit. So it's not just red wine. So there's a lot of white wine lovers out there, and I think everything's in a work in progress. we might even do another. We might want to do a little more, Montrachet, maybe do something different style. But we want to expand our portfolio, and it could be with port. We might be getting into making bourbons, but sky's the limit.
Wow.
Right now, we have a lot of things going on right now. Jeff has a big imagination with a lot of things, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take this on, and we're gonna knock this out. But he's already done a great job himself, and he's got a lot of great friends.
Are you planning also to have a little, a little tasting room there where you are gonna host people for tastings as well?
So like right now, we've been doing that. I'm in the saloon. It's a building that's from 1879, and it's just absolutely perfect. I can't wait for you to come on down and check this out. We had a historian architect come on in and says, you do not need to tear this down. It's absolutely perfect. But the outside, it needs work. So we got it to the point where we don't have to tear the building down. It's a 2-story building. Back in the day, it was kind of like a hotel, so to speak. It's the first Pony Express ever in Napa Valley where we're standing. And it's taken Jeff and his family a while to get the permits and everything to pass to where he's at right now. But as we speak, they're working on the footing, the foundation of the building, pulling all the dirt out of the basement. And we have plans to maybe putting barrels down there. It's perfect temperature, and then building up the building and making a hotel, and then putting in an Italian restaurant. So it sounds easy to say those things, but then there's also work ahead of us to do.
It's in progress.
It's in progress.
Yeah, everything's in motion, and it's a fascinating place.
Yeah.
Full of history, and we're gonna rebirth it. And marry our family history to the history of this place, and just have a really outstanding piece of pioneer history for California, and of course Napa Valley. And
of course,
a good home.
Very, very fascinating, especially because you are, as we were saying, you are bringing back history, and it's also a responsibility because it's
it's and we had a lot of things change last year. We had the fires of 2020. We had a really special place where did
the fire affected that area? No.
Yeah, we were pretty heavily affected, and we did have sustained some damage. We had one of our special spots we used to take our guests is no longer with us. And it was really special place. So we're starting over in a sense in that note, but we're shifting gears. And now, like we said earlier, we're going towards the Ghost Winery, and that's going to be forefront now. So we're in that limbo period of we're getting the gears working, and things are happening, and it's really shaping up nice. So
beautiful.
It's exciting.
I would love to be there with you guys and visiting your amazing estate. You make me curious of it. Yeah. As soon as everything will be over, I'll be back soon in Napa Valley.
Very nice. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think it's time to say goodbye. So thank you, John, and thank you, Jeff, for being here with us. Thank you so much. It has been great to talk with you. So see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlota. Take care.
Goodbye. Bye-bye. Stay safe and take care. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.